the Fae and where are we? There was one other one. Wow, I have my notebook the right face in the right direction. Oh, automatic writing. Sorry about that. Glasses on would help too, and notifications off on my phone. So for anybody who might be new to watching me, I had lost my original archives a good year ago, give or take. So my members in my Facebook group wanted me to kind of make sure the old topics get recovered again, to rebuild the archives for safekeeping through Soma Fusion. So that's what we're doing. And I monitor the chat in my Facebook group. Anybody who comments anywhere, it'll show up in there and I will address that. So free to, wherever you might be watching or listening. And get the feed open. There we go. And hey, Sandy, how are you, sweets? Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that, of course. And so we'll give everybody a chance to come filing on in. Hey, Terry, how are you? Nice that you made it on time, too. And Sandy G, welcome. Welcome, welcome. And Katie. So, as per our usual, everybody likes me to do kind of a circle of protection / blessing before we get started. So I'm going to go ahead and get it fired up for that. Hey, Kim, how are you, lady? Good enough. All right, so with this sage, I cast a circle of protection around everybody who is watching in the live show and outside of Facebook as well. And anybody who happens to catch the replay instead, may that protection protect them from any ill will or harm of any kind and follow them out into their personal lives as well. So I will it, so mote it be. Let that go ahead and burn burn out up there. Go. All right. Now I feel like the sage, I think it's the bottom of the bundle is crumbling on me a bit here. And I'm going to condense match boxes. We had a few left in the other box, so they can't see having two. And there's only 3 matches left. That's right. Fire it up, Sandy. That's the empty one. That's the new one. There we go. All righty then. You are very welcome, of course. Get my notes out here. Where is everybody tonight? Goodness. I realized after I got on with Katie that I didn't do my going live in 10-minute notice thing, but people should know by now. And I do a reminder notice, so, you know. I always figure if it's important to people, they'll be here, you know. So how is everybody doing? How's everyone's weekend gone? Yep. Katie just posted that I just got a notification from Facebook. Get ready to go live. Yeah, beat you to it, Facebook. So anybody who has any issues can go over to the Soma Fusion channel and on YouTube and watch there, or the Soma Fusion page. Hi, Sue. How are you? Glad you're doing well. It's been fairly quiet here. Thankfully, we didn't end up getting 10 inches of snow in that last storm. probably got, I don't know, maybe 3 inches of snow and then a solid coating of a sleet storm on top of that, or it's freezing rain and sleet, which of course, delightful cleanup time. Hey, Chris and Tanya, how are you, beautiful? Hi, Audra. So, why don't we go ahead and get started? I think whoever wants to wander in after, well, there's always stragglers who come in. So, yeah, I know. I was kind of surprised when I saw the up to 10 inches thing. I was like, oh man, that's going to be a mess. But thankfully, it was maybe 3 inches, 4 inches, something like that. Yes, very much so. Yeah, our school canceled the night before in anticipation of how bad it could be. And I'm sure it was. The roads were probably quite messy with the sleet and stuff on top of the snow. But thankfully, I got out to town earlier before the storm started, picked up enough to hold me through the week, so I was good. Hey, Nancy. All right, so the Bermuda Triangle. We have covered this before. Oh, well, I'm glad you had warm and sunny. We had a whopping, I don't think it maybe made it to 20 today, give or take. Yeah, it was nasty here for a while too. So it depends on the mood of my neighbor, Audra. They did not shovel for me this time, so I have to get out to do it. Sometimes they will shovel my ramp for me and at least a path beside my truck to make it easier to get in and out of, but they haven't been doing it this winter for whatever reason. So yeah, on my own. It is a lost topic. Yep, we've covered it before a few times actually in different aspects of it, in addition to all the different triangles of the world. It was first covered in Willows Bend, in the original Willows Bend, back in April 22nd of 2019, I believe. I didn't put the year on things back then, but I'm pretty sure we are in 2019 for this notebook. So yeah, so what is it? Okay, so different folks just consider it different things. There is absolutely no denying that a huge number of vessels, whether planes or ships, have gone down there and mysteriously vanished. People have had time slips in that area as well. It was, and at least I think it's 2019. I mean, let me backtrack because there was one. Yeah, so we're in April of 2019 was when we first covered it. So I'll say there was one part of my notes where I was putting the year down and for some reason stopped in here. So we are in 2019 at this point. So, yep. Well, we've been running for this, I think it's this fall. We will be on year 4 of doing the show. So it's been a while. So, according to the National Oceanic Services, the region in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean in which ships, planes, and people are alleged to have mysteriously vanished. Just kind of nobody knows what happened to them. Did you guys ever talk about visitors or different entities that might come and visit you, like shadows walking across your room very quickly? Sometimes you spot at the corner of your eyes. We've covered them as part of different show topics. So, we have covered like poltergeist. We've covered, I believe, shadow people at one time, just from different angles. But yeah, but not like an entire show on it. So we can certainly add it to the voting block if you'd like. Yeah, I'm not done shoveling. I haven't actually started yet. I've been down all week. I started a new medicine to treat the fibromyalgia, and it's been kicking my butt as far as making me tired, like badly. I don't need help in that area. Like we have fatigue bad enough. We don't need any assistance. I'm hoping it'll dissipate once my body gets used to it. But if not, yeah, we're going to DC that one real quick because I've been sleeping a lot. So haven't gotten half of what I need to get done all week done. Let's move that out of the way. Those and the tones in my ears come out of the blue. Well, I do know what the tones are. Cymbalta, Chris. The tones are like if you have, yeah, I am. So if you have two higher beings and they're talking amongst themselves, it's almost like when you tune a radio in, everything is on an energetic frequency and they're on their own frequency. We're not matching it. So it comes across like the tones when it's just you're not able to, we're not meant to understand because they're talking to themselves in private conversations. So that's what the tones are, as long as medical stuff has been ruled out. But yeah. Yeah. So if I don't get used to it, if this doesn't go away with the fatigue, we're cash. Really? I know it's an antidepressant field of meds, but I haven't, so far, the only side effects I've noticed is that super tired and like dizziness and a hint of nauseousness when I go to eat something. So if it doesn't give up somewhat on those side effects, then yeah, we're gonna stop taking it. Yeah, I don't need help in there. A lot of people have been flaring up because of the weather and stuff, Nancy. It tones on my life, no biggie to me. It's nice to learn. It's just frequencies of communication. It is, yep. Because I asked once of my higher guides and stuff what specifically it is, so I could understand it for myself, and that's what they explained. And I trust them, so. And it made sense. So the Bermuda Triangle is the region in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean in which ships, planes, and people are alleged to have mysteriously vanished. Now, they kind of claim that it's adverse weather conditions, shallow water, etc., that accounts for most of it. And I'm sure that does play a role in it, but there seems to be an area. Hey, Miss Karen. Yeah, definite flares. Yep, I see you. Welcome back into the lives, or that it's still working for you for lives. Everybody reports once they enter that zone that all of their radar equipment and everything else just goes haywire and they lose, like it just stops working. There's a lot of different speculation if it has to do with energy fields or there's so many different explanations possible for that. And I do think some of them, again, are, of course, use your error, so to speak, where, you get those people who think that they're big time pilots or sailors and they really don't have much experience. And then when they get in trouble, they don't know what to do with it and get lost. But there are those, that have been military planes and so forth that have gotten lost over time. Yes, you did. You did. And I'm just saying, I'm glad that they are still letting you on. I know, like, you got in for book group this past week, but I'm glad you're still allowed on. So what does the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard say? So they, of course, say that there's no supernatural explanation for the disasters at sea. They suggest that the combined forces of nature and human error is to account for it. But again, they've lost their own vessels more than once as well without ever being seen or heard from again. They say no evidence exists saying that more tragedies occur there, that says that more tragedies occur there than elsewhere. But statistically, yeah, there are. Hey, Marianne. So, according to estimates, I just got kicked out again. It always happens. I don't know why. Let me get back into the group again here. There. There we go. I'll still have to use my new account for book club. Well, at least you'll be able to get on, though. That's a good thing. Someone's yelling out there. So, according to estimates, more than 1,000 people have lost their lives in the Bermuda Triangle. And on average, 20 ships and 4 planes lose their way every single year. So, some facts about the Bermuda Triangle: it covers an area that's obviously triangular shape there, of 440,000 miles of sea. Hey, Mary. Bruce Gernon, he claims that he encountered an electronic force field. Yeah, sorry, my writing is scribbly there. He claims that he lost 28 minutes while flying through this area, that his plane disappeared from radar, but then he showed up in Miami 28 minutes earlier than what he was scheduled to arrive. So he thinks he went through some sort of energetic force field of some kind that made him jump time, and he got there, and he'd made that flight many, many times, and he knew exactly how long it should take him to get from point A to point B. And this one particular time, he got there 28 minutes early, and he has no memory of anything different happening to him, but he couldn't ignore the clocks. And the airport where he was landing at was questioning, him showing up 28 minutes early, of like, whoa, we got to find a spot for you to go because you got here sooner than we thought you would. No remains of a ship, plane, or boat has ever been found in the triangle. So when they disappear, their remains are nowhere to be found. The same type of searches happen every single time when someone goes missing, yet there is nothing found. Now, that said, there are a lot of like Gulf Stream things that can carry debris further away, but I mean, they conduct some pretty far-reaching searches of like a couple thousand miles in coverage around the triangle area, and still never find any signs of the missing vehicles or people. And there has never been any debris that washes up on shore anywhere either. Geologists claim that the Gulf is too fast and it cleans up the remains, but cleans it up to where? Like, again, it's not washing up anywhere. It's been a while since the last missing plane or ship, hasn't it? I think so, but again, on average, 20 ships and 4 planes lose their way every single year. So it is something that happens every year. It's just, haven't been hearing about it because unless you actively follow the topic, you probably wouldn't. So some cases of missing, misguided, lost planes, lost ships, etc. In 1955, about when they kind of started tracking it, 5 U.S. Navy bombers left for Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and they were flying for the small island of Bimini, and there were 14 people who were part of that mission. 90 minutes into the flight, the pilots lost communications with radio operators as their compasses stopped working. 3 other planes actually went looking for them after they disappeared, and they also were lost and never found. Yeah, I kind of think that with other things going on in the world, that it's taken a back seat to that stuff, but I'm sure there are up-to-date stats on it if you went looking for them. Well, that's my thinking, or, I do question that as a possibility as well, Chris, of is that where they're going? Because again, there's never any debris that washes up on any shore that would be identifying information for the vessel. So so the Navy lost 5 bombers, and then they sent out more planes looking for them, 3 other planes to look for the missing bombers, and they got lost. So a total of 8 bomber planes just disappeared. Um, the Bermuda Triangle is also one of the rare places that compass doesn't show towards north. And geologists say that's why so many people get lost there, is it doesn't work. The compasses stop working and it stops showing what direction north is. So that's where people get lost. So famous incidences that happen there are there were 309 people from the USS Cyclops went missing after leaving Barbados in 1918. Just waiting for US UFOs to step in before World War III. They probably would. So 309 people from the USS Cyclops went missing after leaving Barbados in 1918. In 1955, a yacht was found, but the crew was missing. The yacht had survived 3 hurricanes, but the crew members, there was no sign of them or something that happened to them. You know, the ship's logs and stuff, everything else was found if there's on board, but they were not found. Were they washed overboard in the storms? Yeah, maybe, you know, we don't know that, but they still disappeared without ever being seen or heard from again. In 1958, a Douglas DC-3 aircraft went missing, and there were 32 people that were part of that crew. According to Wikipedia, incidences got broken down into the crafts. And I know in the original show, I used had separate web pages called up on my device, which I don't have now for this show because I don't know what the original pages were I used. However, you know, again, there's certainly enough stuff out there. So 11 strange conspiracy theories about Bermuda Triangle. Even uneaten meals were found on that ship. Yes, that's what I mean. Like, it looked like they just kind of stepped away for a minute and just gone. No ship logs indicate a problem other than, you know, of course, there were 3 hurricanes that the ship survived, but the crew members, and that's not the only ship that's ever happened to where the crew just disappeared. So 11 strange conspiracy theories about the Bermuda Triangle. Number 1 being human error. So while it's not even listed as a quote place on any map, the more official held reason for most, if not all, disappearances is human error, which again, yes, mistakes can be made by those who are less experienced. But I mean, people who are flying and piloting the military craft, obviously they're experienced and they're still turning up missing. So it's not human error in that case. Number 2 is compass reading anomalies. Most attribute this to alien UFOs or a paranormal happening. Scientists say that there's several places on Earth where a compass won't point to north. There are mentions of places in the Gobi Desert that also doesn't apply. Like if you took a compass out into the Gobi Desert, it would also not show north there. And the north and south poles are not where they should be according to the compass. Yep, I think that's part of it. It's all contracts. Number 3 is the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream is a major oceanic current that runs from the Gulf of Mexico through the North Atlantic and the Straits of Florida. The current acts more like a river than it does the ocean. So any downed craft could be pulled miles away from the reported position in a matter of minutes. But again, nothing is ever found of any wreckage, any person, any wreckage from the planes or debris, even of any cargo. Nothing's ever washes up on shore, which it would if it just got trashed in the waves or something. It would eventually wash up somewhere, or parts of it would. Also, some of the world's deepest trenches are also in the Bermuda Triangle zone. Some of them are 28,000 feet deep, which is pretty deep. The next possible explanation is methane hydrate deposits. Now, this seems pretty goofy to me, but I'm going to present it anyway. So, bubbles caused by periodic methane bubble eruptions can sink ships by the higher density of the water they're floating on, and they have a loss of buoyancy. So, like the bubbles erupt and it takes the ship down. None have been noted in that region for the last 15,000 years, or none big enough to sink ships from, but they still offer it as a possible explanation. Unpredictable and volatile weather, bizarre weather patterns hitting unexpectedly can be equated to a bomb-like explosions that could take out both planes and ships, which seems kind of extreme and not necessarily super common either. Time warps is another explanation. So another theory speculates of finding portals or time warps whereby vessels entered a rip in space-time continuum and found themselves at the same location but at a different time and not re-entering the rip again, hence never making it back to our time again. Now, I say that could be a possibility. Science even says that there are, the multiverse theory. There could be millions of different versions in other dimensions and Earths out there. And so why isn't that a possibility? Why am I thinking that, yeah, why not? The lost city of Atlantis. Plato surmised that Atlantis flourished in 9600 BCE, and he allegedly heard the tale as, I think they have sinkholes in the water down that way. It's possible. Waiting for live video signal. The broadcast is waiting for a signal. It should resume shortly. That's weird. Huh. That was a weird message. I haven't gotten that one before. So Plato originally heard the story as a boy, and somebody told his father, who was a trusted friend of his father, who allegedly had seen Atlantis, and he grew up and he wrote about it. And allegedly a single cataclysmic event allegedly wiped it out, and Bermuda Triangle theorists think it existed right in the middle of Bermuda Triangle, yet yeah, you saw it too? Good, it wasn't just me. So those people think that that Atlantis existed right in the middle of the triangle. However, they found Bimini Road and they think that might be part of it, but nothing more than the Bimini Road really has been found in that area. So that's strange. Well, at least it's working now. They think that leftover technology from then or radiation from its remains is responsible for its loss, and many are still searching for Atlantis even today, which is true. There are those that are out there still, making dives constantly, looking for it and trying to speculate based on Plato's description of where it's located at, of where it might fall, based also on archaeological remains that of what Plato described of it, how it was the setup of the city looked, etc., where and everything ranges from, I think the Gobi Desert was one location in different, I mean, it kind of is all over different areas of Europe is where it allegedly has been. They don't know. Well, like I said, at least it wasn't just me. I'm kind of like, okay. Another speculation is UFO alien abductions. So around the height of disappearances, there was a raise in or an increase in the UFO sightings in that area, lending to the idea that aliens are behind disappearances. And as we've seen from some footage that the military has released of showing UFOs diving in under the water and stuff, and that they could have craft under there. They could have a whole city hidden in those, deep trenches, and we wouldn't be the wiser. It could be the ley lines is another explanation. Yeah. Yes, absolutely, Chris. Yeah, I froze too for a few seconds. Yeah. I mean, they did. I mean, that's really what Lemuria was part of Atlantis, like a division of how they viewed things and the setup of things. And then Atlanteans got kind of greedy on stuff, and the Lemurians disagreed, and so they kind of had a separation from there, but they still were all originally Atlanteans. Another theory is pirates. Pirate activity also, it was at its height of time, like in the times of disappearances. Pirates were quite active. They also linked with drug smugglers, etc., and that pirates may have been responsible for sinking ships to get the cargo from them. Gravitational fields is another theory. The idea of mass concentration of gravitational pulls could pull ships and even planes down. Amazon just delivered my altar bread. I have never heard of altar bread before. Unless you mean like the wafers they give out during communion. Is that what you're talking about? Others say that it simply does not exist. Many theorize that it is not actually in existence and it is a work of overactive imaginations. Disappearances, they believe, are on par with the rest of the earth, and even insurance companies offer no better coverage for this area, citing it carries no greater risk than the rest of the oceans on earth. So at that point, I guess you decide, what you feel it is, because nobody actually knows. But it's something, I think. Are you talking about like the wafers they give out in communion? Out of curiosity. Yes, it is. Okay. You're funny. I knew that was coming, Karen. I heard it. All right. So now we're going to segue over, totally unrelated, of course. It's always funny when I'm doing the write-ups for the show topics, because we're covering, because the shows were so short in the original presentation of them, I'm kind of clumping them up to create a full show, but the topics are so varied, they don't ever fit together, which is funny. But so fairies, the fae. Now, not that long ago, everybody had me repost the video that our lovely Tanya had taken in her yard, that no other explanation fit besides it possibly being the fae that were on camera. It was definitely not birds or bugs, that's for sure. And we still have the video in Willows Bend. So if anyone's curious, it is in there. So I think it's in one of the gray tabs, the album tabs, perhaps. It's in there somewhere. So, yes, fairies are pretty awesome beings. So the different kinds of fairy, in folklore, one class of a supernatural beings generally conceived as having a diminutive human form and possessing magical powers which they intervene in human affairs at times. Everybody gets cravings. So the history, which we did cover some in the book of the Little People legends, the origins of oral history of fairies date back to before recorded history. And the first fairy tales were written in ancient Egypt around 1300 BCE. So they go back quite a ways. And the term fairy comes from the Latin word fata, equals fate. In Old French, fairy word spelled with F-A-E, equals enchanted. Oh Lord, I don't think she can have children, actually. So back when the world was much more mysterious place than it is now, people truly feared offending the fairies, who allegedly could cast evil spells or curses on a whim on people. Oh, well, there you go. You can have your own Holy Communion going on. So in Ireland, people were afraid of upsetting them and referred to them as the little people, the gentry, or neighbors even. All sorts of folklore exists from in all forms, from avoiding fairy paths to being forbidden to digging into fairy hills. So, a fairy path is a route taken usually in a straight line between sites of significance for the Fae, such as fairy forts, mountains, hilltops, thorn bushes, spring lakes, rocky outcrops, or even Stone Age monuments. Fairy rings are circles that they dance in, and cottages back then were also built lining up both the front and the back doors so that they could go in a straight line through without any interference, because you weren't supposed to be in their way if they were passing through. Um, they're more recently, and at least in our culture, called shotgun houses, because if you fire a gun from the front door, it'll go straight out the back door. So that's where that comes from. Uh, Interestingly, in traditional legends, fairies did not have wings. The flying variety became more popular later on. Most of us can't see them, as they now live in an alternate reality called the realm of the Fae. And we invaded their lands, so what else are they going to do besides retreat, basically? There are those they will show themselves to, but it's not super common when people get to see them. As the world became more modernized, cutting down trees with electricity, roads, cities, etc., they were forced to go underground and hide in caves, underwater fortresses, as well as the spirit realm, um, which I don't think is necessarily the spirit realm as much as their own dimension. Uh, the case of the most famous fairy hoax that I think everybody is pretty well familiar with is the Cottingley fairies. So in 1917, Elsie Wright and Francis Griffiths, cousins from Cottingley in West Yorkshire, England, claimed that they caught fairies on film. They had a staunch supporter in author Arthur Conan Doyle, who was the Sherlock Holmes creator. 63 years later, they admitted to using cardboard cutouts from popularized children's books at the time, but people thought that they were real and valid. There was nothing backing up that they were valid, but I mean, when we look at them by our standards with all the CGI out there and stuff in movies and so forth, I mean, they looked pretty fake, I think. But at the time, photography was really just kind of getting its start. So it wasn't seen as being faked until much later, and they kind of fessed up to it. So altogether, they took 5 pictures, and the first 4 were fakes, but insisted that the final one that was taken was real. It was the Victorians and Edwardians who popularized the idea that fairies fly. Then there is also a case of, also over in England, a college professor. He claimed that fairy pictures are real that he caught. So there was a Professor John Hyatt, who was a lecturer and a director of Manchester Institute for Research and Innovation, there's a mouthful, in art and design at Manchester, England's Metropolitan University. He claims that his photos are genuine. So over the course of 2 years, he claims that whilst out in Rossendale Valley, Lancashire, he unintentionally caught them on film. He makes it clear that he doesn't believe in fairies, and he was trying to photograph pictures of flies and gnats that he thought kind of were swarming weird. So he pulled out his camera and took pictures. And it was only after developing and blowing them up that he noticed the figures in there were certainly not flies or gnats that were photographed, that they very much had a humanoid figure to them, and that they seemed self-illuminated and had wings. So how to tell if you have seen fairies? Spheres of light, flickers or glints of light, or unexplained movement out of the corner of your eye. If you see fairy rings, which are flowers or mushrooms growing in a ring. You may hear laughter if you're near them, or feel the urge to laugh yourself and have sudden feelings of joy come upon you. You may smell the scent of flowers randomly when you're in the woods. You may notice that you're being followed by birds, and cats may play with air or act weird staring at nothing, which cats kind of do all the time anyway. Dogs bark at nothing. Your milk goes bad before the expiration date. Fae may have entered your house. Shiny things will go missing in your house, like jewelry, etc. You may feel a sense of warmth on your skin suddenly, like tiny vibrations. There may be flowers sprouting in bizarre places. There are also dark fae, according to folklore, which is especially common in Europe, which we read about a whole bunch of them where, throwing their boobs over their shoulders, those type of beings. Yeah, those are the darker ones. And as an explanation, in a book we read during book group, there was a lot of stories from Europe that talked about the beings who were, if they were feminine, that they would throw their breasts over their shoulder to feed their young in a backpack they were wearing on their backs. So that became a running joke. All right, so that's kind of it on the Fae. So if you've encountered any of those things, you may be surrounded by Fae. Some people say they do see them regularly. Some people say they've never seen them. So it's up to them whether they feel like showing themselves to you. So the next and final topic for the night is automatic writing. And if you guys, I don't know if you guys want to try to do it again like we did in the original show or not. And if so, you can grab a paper and pen. If not, we'll talk about how to do it on your own and see what happens. Some people reported they did get a few letters coming through. Others said nothing. So it depends on, what's around you, I guess, when you're trying to do it. So if you are interested, grab some paper and a pen, and we can do it as a group thing, or can just follow along with the presentation of it. So automatic writing is writing achieved without deliberation or conscious control. And this can be through a subconscious or conscious process, or by acting as a medium for spirits or other supernatural forces. The writers generally are not aware of the content until after the process is complete. And my comments, no one can be not saying something for this long. Let me see if that's gonna. Really, no one's saying anything for that long. The last comment I have is highly recommend them from Amazon, Some Comic Blood, aka grape juice in little cups. Okay, maybe no one's just talking, that's all. All right. So the history of the automatic writing is it really first became popular with the spiritualist movement, but very early examples of it include in the 16th century Enochian language were allegedly dictated to John Dee and Edward Kelly by Enochian angels, and it has its own grammar and rules and is a very complex language. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who again wrote Sherlock Holmes fame, he used to hold automatic writing seances with Houdini. Houdini was always on a quest where he really wanted to believe in the world of spirits because of his mother passing on. And I guess she promised him that she would come through after she died. So he was always attending seances and things like that, trying to get her to come through, which it never happened. So he was always, saying most of them were fakes and frauds because, which was common for seances back in the day. Not saying everyone was, of course not, but, the ones he attended, he deemed them a fake or a fraud if his mother didn't come through, which she never did before his own death. So. Even Ouija boards are a form of automatic writing. And this one we started talking about, I believe, in book group this past week. It was the famous case of Pearl Curran, who was a St. Louis housewife who had no interest in the occult. And she was talked into trying a spirit board with her mother and a neighbor. And to Pearl's surprise, someone named Patience Worth came through. After initial contact with patients, it didn't matter who Pearl sat with to do the board, messages from patients always came through. Patience was an English woman from 1694 who allegedly came to America and was killed by Indians. Over the course of the next 25 years, Patience dictated to Pearl Kern a total of about 400,000 words and consisted not only of personal messages, but also creative writings. Over 5,000 poems, a play, many short works, and several novels that, when published, received critical acclaim. Now, Pearl, the original, person who was bringing her through, she had very little education and certainly not at a level that could go and write all that. Something went wrong. Try my connection again. Okay, I'm going to pop out because I don't think I'm seeing everyone's comments here. So let me exit and I will reopen again and see if that improves chat stuff. Now I see no chat. Okay, let me close out of the group. There we go. 1 second, my lovelies. Just want to make sure because it doesn't, I'm getting an error message on my side saying it's not working correctly, which it looks like it is to me. There. Okay. It's back open again. I still don't have comments, but live chat. All right. Somebody say something in chat that I know you're there. I'm getting your hearts, but I don't see anybody's comments. Anyhow, I don't want to ignore anybody's comments who is commenting and it's just not showing up on my phone. So anyhow, so the Currans, which was Pearl and her husband, they allowed visitors to sit in on sessions, but never charged anything. And the sessions never had any of the usual fraudulent trappings that some spiritualist sessions had for people. Yeah, I'm not seeing any comments whatsoever, which is odd. Huh. Strange. Still saying that error message. Well, so I apologize if you guys are commenting. I have a blank screen. So sorry, guys. It's not working right or something. So one time Pearl was shown an image of a yellow bird in her head, and patients wanted it included into a poem. Pearl had no idea what the bird was. And finally, patients said, "He who knoweth the hedgerows knoweth the yellow hammer." Pearl and her husband later looked up a yellow hammer, and it was in the encyclopedia, and they saw a yellow old hammer she saw that was in her visions. It wasn't a type that was seen in the United States, only in England. So this bird that she got shown wasn't a bird in the US. She got messages in saying that as words flowed into her, she felt a pressure, and then the scenes and images would appear. Sometimes included people speaking a foreign language that was unknown to Pearl, but over them, she heard patients translating it. Through all these experiences, Pearl never went into a trance. Patients could get frustrated by Pearl's lack of education, but she wasn't ever unkind to her. The sessions continued on until 1922, when Pearl became pregnant for the first time at age 39. After her husband and mother both died, contact between patients and Pearl kind of waned down in a way. Scholars analyzed the works produced and concluded that Patient's work was accurate in historic detail and was written in such a way only someone with an intimate knowledge of that time would be able to write about and like that. Pearl died in 1937, and even though Patience Worth wasn't validated to have lived, her knowledge was far surpassed Pearl's education or language or history on any subject matter. But again, if, back in 1694 in England, people who were like commoners, if you will, not everybody, they didn't keep really good birth records and death records back then. So people could have lived and it would never be validated. So if you want to try it, you're going to get the paper and pen. And again, I apologize that I have no comments in chat for whatever reason, just not showing up. And I did exit out of Facebook altogether and came back in, and it's still not giving it to me. So just says overview, something went wrong. Please check your connection and try again. I don't know. Yeah, I've been doing that, Tanya, with swiping chat to the left, and it's not giving it because it says overview, live chat, your replies, and more like this. And I don't have anything in the way of live chat showing up. So no, I am swiping it and it's not appearing. So I don't know why. It's just not happening. So I apologize that I can't see your comments. So if you do want to try this on your own, you're going to get a paper and a pen. Give yourself a question to ask or a topic you want to do it on. Close your eyes. And it doesn't matter what happens. Don't stop writing to check what you've already written. You're going to just, or to change it even. So you're not going to like stop and look and say, oh, well, I think that's supposed to be an A and correct it. You're just going to keep going until it seems like you're done. Take a few deep breaths to get centered and clear your mind, and then ask your question or start thinking about what topic you want to know about and start writing. So lots of people, when they do this, they start out just making loops, and you're going to let your hand go where it wants to go. If you feel like it's kind of being pulled in a different direction, let it go there. Don't try to stop it, and don't look at what you're doing until you're done. When done, go back and see if you find any words, symbols, or pictures and circle them, and then go back after to see if, like, if you try it later, keep what you already did because it could be part of a message that you might be getting, and be open to what you might get. Don't ask test questions. You can ask for guidance, or if Spirit has any messages for you for your greater good. When I didn't see comments for a while, Chris says, tonight I backed out and couldn't get back in. Kept getting an error message. Got on through Soma, left a message, but she did not acknowledge, so I guess you can't see those either. Then I went to YouTube. We'll watch it from there. Yeah, I knew what you meant by Soma, but yeah, it is freaky, but it's blank under live chat. And I did go all the way out to Facebook and then like out of Facebook and then came back in all the way into the group and reopened the show and no comments. So sorry, guys. And usually if someone comments in YouTube, it'll show up in the group's chat. So even if I go over to YouTube, it still may not show it to me. So if like as you're doing it, if nothing happens, that's okay. Just try again later. It can be done daily for 30 days or even a few minutes at a time. And then just stop. And like I said, after you think you're done, then look at what might have come through or what you can make out. Sometimes it can be difficult if you wrote over top of some of those scribbles or whatever, but you just try to decipher what it is. And did you get an answer to what topic you were thinking about, or with what question you were asking, or for guidance, whatever. And you might be surprised what comes through. Some people have a knack for it and others not so much. So depends on the individual, but I know when I've done it before, I have had some letters come through, nothing that made real sense in what I was asking to have come through, but it's just another tool for communication, or can be, depending on whether you're drawn to it or not. So that is pretty much it for automatic writing. It's up to you how often you want to do it or for how long. If you don't feel like you're getting anything after several attempts, well, maybe it's just you don't resonate with that method of divination, which can happen, obviously. So, topics for next week will be, let's see, we got remote viewing, Let me mark this here so I know where I left off. And unexplained disappearances, communication with animals, and we could probably even cover sacred interventions as well. And that will finish off this notebook. So that sounds like a plan. And I again apologize, I can't see anyone's responses. It'll be curious to see if they appear after, like for the replay, but still blank. So anyway, book group will be as usual on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern in the room here in the group, which I will put out an event notice for that as usual. And we are reading, let me get the book. Oh, I can show you guys. It's by Meg Blackburn-Losey. The Children of Now is what we're currently reading. And it's about the crystalline children, indigo children, star kids, angels on earth, and the phenomena of transitional children. And Meg Blackburn-Losey has her MSc degree and her PhD as well. She's a certified therapist, and she's made appearances all over the world talking about the topic and really how the gifts that these children have, that society is kind of doing an injustice for how we relate to them, and it's not fostering the gifts to continue, but it's a good book. We've been enjoying it, and we have a secondary book kind of on the same topic by a different author after we finish this one. But so, and we had a really good group last week. I think it went well. So that'll be the plan then. And again, I apologize for no comments, but beyond my control. So again, next week we got remote viewing, unexplained disappearances, communications with animals, and sacred interventions. And then that'll finish up the old original notebook for Willows Bend and book group on Wednesday night. So with that, even though I can't see anybody, I wish you all love and a blessed rest of the week. And I will see those who are interested in the book group. And it's weird because those who are sending hearts and smiley faces and stuff, those are flying upward, but no comments. It's strange. I don't know. So thanks for the hearts. I send them back. There we go. So lots of love. Blessed be to all of you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the night. And I will talk to those of you who are interested for book group on Wednesday night and see you guys around Facebook land. So have a wonderful rest of the night, guys. Lots of love. Good night.